And now for white, it's better to just go for d5, completely taking control over the c6 and e6 square. And let's suppose if this game continues like knight to c4, advancing this knight, but now white can just go for b3, attacking this knight, and the only best square for this knight is on b6 square. And after that, now white can start pushing these queenside pawns. And obviously, capturing this a4 pawn is not a great idea for black, so that's why what if black pushed c4, trying to attack this pawn structure, but white can just take on b5. And after takes, now here white has option. Here he can either capture this pawn on b3, or he can just go for bishop to d3, keeping an eye over this b5 pawn. And if takes, bishop takes b5 check, a takes b5, rook takes a8 check, knight takes a8, and finally queen takes b3. And clearly you can see this position is better for white. But in the actual game, after the move bishop to d7, here Tal decides to develop his knight to d2. And now it's better for black to just take on d4, but instead here Larsson goes for knight to c6, which is a slight inaccuracy because now white can just push this pawn further to d5, which attacks this knight. But instead of doing this, here Tal goes for b3, preparing for bishop to b2. And now here black can continue by capturing on d4, but instead here Larsson decides to bring his another rook on e8. Okay, so in this position, now Tal goes for queen to h4, threatening mate on h7, and the defense of this is simply pushing this pawn to h6. Uh, but instead here Larsen goes for f5, which is a slight inaccuracy because this move weakens the pawn structure of black king. And after that, Tal goes for rook to d1. He finds the best move, and obviously here black cannot capture this pawn on d5 due to the threat of bishop to c4 pin. So that's why instead of capturing, here black decides to go for rook to e7, guarding the 7th rank, which is important because because of these sniper bishops of white, which can become aggressive anytime. And now in this position here black must consider the move queen to c2, attacking both bishops, and if rook to d2, if he tries to attack this queen, simply queen to b1 check, king to h2, queen to e4, asking for queen exchange, and if takes, and after all of this you can see black successfully opens the f file for this rook, which is now targeting this f pawn. And by this, you can see this position is now completely equal. But in the actual game, after bishop to e2, here Larsen goes for bishop to e7. And now, here black must consider pushing this pawn to g6 so that he can attack this bishop. But instead he goes for rook to f8, and the problem with that move is now Tal finds the best move rook to e1, attacking this bishop because as you can see this rook is not on this f7 square now. So that's why here Larsen simply brings his bishop back to d8. And here black can capture this free pawn on d5, but here Larsen goes for queen to b4, preparing for queen to d2 so that he can target this bishop, and the best move for white is to just attack this queen by bishop to c3, but instead he goes for queen to e3, preparing for queen to a7 so that he can attack this bishop. But guys, there is a defensive move that black can play to neutralize this complete attack. Just pause the video and try to find this move by yourself, and let me know in the comments that how many of you finds that move. Okay, so the move which completely neutralized all the attack of white is queen to f4. And now the best move for white is to just exchange the queens and continue his attack. But let's suppose if white goes according to plan, which is queen to a7, which attacks this bishop. But guys, that will be a mistake now, because now comes queen to d2, attacking this bishop, and which is crucial for white. And now white is forced to bring his queen back to d4 so that he can protect his bishop as well as ask for this queen exchange. But let's suppose if he goes for bishop to a3, and yes, I know you all are curious about pushing this pawn to b4, which completely traps this bishop. But before that, black will firstly defend his bishop to e8, which attacks this bishop, which is on a very good square. And now since he's asking for a bishop exchange, let's suppose if takes, and capturing this bishop will be a bad move for black because of queen to b8, which targets this isolated pawn on d6. And with this, White already has a passed d pawn that gets support of this queen. So, and obviously we don't want this, so that's why now we will go for b4. But what if white still goes for queen to b8, attacking this bishop? But if this happens, then simply takes, and since this rook is now attacked, so the best move for white is to go for rook to c8, and yeah, after rook to c8, which pressurize this bishop, but simply queen to e1 check, king to h2, bishop to h6, f6. And now I think you all understand this amazing move order. But in the actual game, after the move queen to e3, yeah, after this move, here a Larsen goes for queen to a5. He wants to attack this a2 pawn, and here Tal goes according to his plan, which is queen to a7, attacking this bishop. But guys, that's a mistake because of queen to d2, attacking this bishop, which is so that's why before queen to a7, here black must consider bishop to a1. And now Tal must consider rook to c8 so that he can create some pressure over this bishop. But instead he made a mistake by rook to e1, and that's a mistake because now black can bring his bishop to b6, which attacks this pawn on f7, and to defend this, white has to be defensive, and by this you can see this position automatically becomes equal. But surprisingly, Larsson missed that amazing move and he blunders by pushing g4. And the problem with that move is now Tal can go for this amazing move, queen to e6 check. Obviously, black can go for either queen to g8 or maybe queen to h8. But let's suppose if king to h8, queen takes d6, and now white is threatening to capture this rook, so that's why rook to g8. But after that takes bishop to f7, attacking this rook, and you can see now no one can protect this rook, because if this rook leaves this rank, then you can see this queen will come and boom. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move g4, here Tal gives a check by And in this position, both players agrees for a draw. Because let's suppose if this game continues like king to c4, so that he can go for king to b5 targeting these pawns. But now comes bishop to f8, king to b5, king to e5, king takes a5, king takes d5, king to b5. And you can see here white bishop cannot do anything because of these two isolated pawns which are in a dark squares, and this b4 pawn is already defended by this dark square bishop of black which is on f8 square. And by this all setup you can see no side can progress, and this game will automatically becomes equal. What an amazing defense by Ben Larsen. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.